I want to just hearken back to about, what was it, Linda, 8, 9 years ago, when we knew back in those days that public education had to reframe itself around engaging students in their future. And actually, Linda came out of the Calgary board, and I had met her through that opportunity. But what was more significant is that both Linda and I shared an understanding, and I think a vision, around how we might engage students and how we might work differently with community so that students could make their learning relevant and authentic and connected to their future. And we began and met with many groups who shared some of those same ideas. And I would say to you that time is now urgent. It is perhaps past time that we took a look at how we can accelerate an agenda that engages students in this province. I want to show you, and I've asked Santa Mar to drive for me. Santa Mar Sarpal is a specialist with the Calgary Board of Education, and her area of focus, one of her areas, is supply chain. So hopefully we'll get a chance to meet and talk with Santa Mar more later. So we knew, and I think all of you know, that supply chain, as this slide indicates, takes us from the back room to the boardroom. It has become a critical element, an essential component of a vibrant economy and a global strategy for success and progress. And it doesn't matter what corner of the world or what sector we look at today, supply chain speaks to the ways in which organizations understand their efficiency, their vision, their forward look, and their collaborative opportunities to build a network not only in supply chain, but in the sectors that they focus on and that are their core business. Supply chain is everywhere, and it is at the forefront of our conversation today as well. So we know, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about what has surfaced over the very near and recent past around labor shortages, around issues around productivity and industry management, the politics of supply chain, and the need, as I think Alison Redford's in Washington today, talking about supply chain issues and talking about the ways through for Alberta's economy and how we can connect our industry and resources globally. And she is one part of a very large picture. So I thought it would be helpful today. I want to take you to a place, this is a short video, it's about 5 minutes, 4 to 5 minutes, because we're not alone in this work. There is a whole awakening and a restructuring going on across this province in public education and in high school education in particular. But I thought to set the context for next steps and for our table conversations today, I would share with you a video that comes out of Alberta Education, and it speaks to the dramatic and significant transformation that is being undertaken across this province in the redesign of school.
High school completion is everybody's business. In Alberta, like in much of the world, governments, school districts, parents, teachers, business, and industry are collectively dealing with the real and perceived barriers that prevent some students from completing high school. Let's think of it like driving down a virtual highway. We know kids are detouring, sometimes taking a wrong turn, getting distracted, or completely off course. That's why it's time to hit the metaphorical brakes, to stop and take a look at what's happening. So what is happening? Well, in Alberta, 20% of kids are not completing high school. And we believe that 20% of our youth not completing for any reason is 20% too many. So why are they not completing high school? Students often leave school because they've experienced years of hurdles, missteps, and wrong turns. These risk factors can be grouped into four major areas of a student's life. Individual risk factors, things like low literacy levels or being part of a minority group. Family or home life, including risk factors like low expectations or moving often. School has its own risk factors, like student engagement levels and negative peer connections. And finally, community factors, such as poverty and lack of community resources. Any one or a combination of risk factors can create barriers, sending a student down a road they don't really want to go down. On the other hand, if we can target and address these problem areas through a coordinated, collaborative approach, we can keep this 20% of students headed down the right path and give them an increased chance at a better life. So how are we making a difference, and how do we know that we are? We know that schools and districts each have their own local context, which informs how they support students. The Alberta Education High School Completion Initiative has implemented and/or supported over 30 different projects that address the diverse range of challenges that students face and help them to become engaged thinkers and ethical citizens with an entrepreneurial spirit. Our 5 strategies for addressing this wide array of barriers include student engagement, successful transitions, collaborative partnerships, positive connections, and tracking progress. The first strategy, student engagement, is all about innovative and creative ways to engage students, including implementing new technologies in the classroom, exploring alternative learning structures, and learning outside of the classroom environment. The second strategy is successful transitions. If we can support students as they progress through educational and personal challenges, hopefully we can prevent some barriers from arising for these individuals. The third strategy is collaborative partnerships. This strength-based strategy involves building partnerships in and outside of schools that ensure children, youth, and their families have access to supports needed to be successful. The fourth strategy is positive connections. These projects seek to create a sense of belonging for students within the education system and the larger community. Collecting and using data provides our roadmap for the future. Tracking progress, the fifth strategic area, looks below the surface at what is impacting our students. If we delve deeper into the data, we will get at the root of the challenges some of our students are facing. Ultimately, the goal of Alberta's High School Completion Strategic Framework is to trigger change. It's to be proactive about keeping our kids on the right road. There is no magic solution. But bit by bit, student by student, working in partnership with school jurisdictions and multiple stakeholders, we are making a difference. So why focus on high school completion? Because 20% is 20% too many. Stop and think for a moment. How can we all be involved in preparing our youth to become engaged thinkers and ethical citizens with an entrepreneurial spirit? This journey is an important one. And remember, high school completion is everybody's business. Let's work together to ensure that all kids, regardless of ability, gender, race, or background, continue down the road to success. For more information, visit the website at www.education.alberta.ca/highschoolcompletion.
Thanks, Emma. So that gives you a context, a bit of a flavor for the big change that was identified through the work that Dave Hancock led when he was Minister of Education. And some of you may be aware that we have a new Education Act that will come into place in 2015 and will support new ways for students to access learning, new ways for us to work together and in partnership and in community building for student success. So there are a number of changes that this video highlights for us. One of the significant ones that is important for our work and discussion today is the redesign of curriculum. So in the past, high schools, as most schools were designed, secondary education largely was designed around disciplines of math, science, social studies, English language arts, phys ed, health. And then there were optional courses. What we've discovered and what we've come to know is that it is really through those passions and interests, often found in optional programs, that students connect with learning and they connect with school or schooling. And it is through those optional areas of focus that their passion and their interest in mathematics and language and communication grow. It isn't the other way around. Our numbers tell us that about 42% of students are very successful in the current model that we have in our schools today, and probably the model you and I went through. We have to do better. That 20% number used in this video is over a 5-year period, not a 3-year period. Our 3-year success rates are 30%. So we're looking at curriculum and we're asking ourselves the question, how do we design instruction? How do we design learning that speaks to students' interests and abilities and strengths and raises the bar in terms of their learning and outcomes in areas of literacy, numeracy, scientific and mathematical knowledge? What does that look like, and how do we pursue that agenda? The program of studies talks about that this process of engagement, this process of knowing students and having students belong in meaningful ways in and beyond school will require us to focus in some new ways of connecting. So we're talking about literacy, numeracy, and competencies such as team building and collaboration, digital awareness and digital literacy. It talks about abilities to work independently, to be critical thinkers and creative innovators. So those are the competencies that are also being measured in this new program. We also talk about the flexible ways that students learn. We were invited by Alberta Education this year to lift the hours of instruction requirements in 8 of our high schools. And so we have been spending this year with students and teachers, principals, parents from Western Canada High School, Central Memorial, Ernest Manning, the National Sports School, the new Robert Thirst School, James Fowler High School, 17,000 students who, starting in September, will be, have the hours of instruction required for their learning lifted. That's huge. We've created opportunities for teachers to instruct in different ways, in pods, in cohort groups. We're looking at how we can connect students to industry and to leading industry and to futures that make sense and speak to their passions and interests. So one of our approaches, and I think some of you will may have heard of this or may even have visited a particular prototyping center that we have set up. But we saw that the programs of studies that were offered in high school that are called career and technology studies, in which supply chain rests, really speak to the interests, the passions, the values, and the engagement of student learning. And it is through those lenses that we are creating an array of programs. Supply chain is one, but an array of programs, an array of pathways that connect students in experiential and project-based learning so that they can take up their math, social studies, science, and English language arts with a lens to where it is taking them and next steps for their learning and for their success and productivity. We've set up a prototyping center at a high school that actually was closed a few years ago, Lord Shaughnessy High School. And we have invested time and dollars. We've put teachers and programs in that facility. We've opened the facility up to our 8 high schools and others as well. And we have talked about 12-month, 6-day-a-week, 14-hour-a-day learning. And we've talked about industry coming and working side by side with students and teachers in those settings. We've also established a professional development center at that facility, and we will be bringing teachers to work more closely with industry. And we're also investigating, and I think we're there, where we will have our teachers able to work out as part of their professional learning in industry as part of a sabbatical. So we're doing a lot of work around identifying how we connect students to their passions and interests. How do we connect teachers to different experts in the community and different opportunities so that teachers and students, given a variety of settings, can work together. And I'll just give you one example. And Linda, I might be running over time, so you can cut me off with a few minutes' notice. Oh, all right. We have a culinary arts program. We've partnered with SAIT so that students who complete this culinary program, it's actually cook apprenticeship, cook trades program at Shaughnessy, we've put in an $800,000 kitchen, and we have students coming in and learning the cook apprenticeship, the cook business, the foods business, and with laddering and connections to SAIT. We need a supply chain piece for that because we also have 56 junior highs. Linda mentioned the nutrition program. I'm responsible for that, and the lunchroom program. We brought in a new nutrition policy last year. We need to start to cater to our junior highs so that they are eating the food that, according to our policies, is best for them. We have a kitchen. We have students who want to cook. We have fabulous teachers. We need a supply chain strategy to get that food out there. We need to also consider ways of building our catering business. So we're bringing in our financial management kids, and they're saying, well, you know, we really need a bank, and how are we going to transport money back and forth? And, you know, we also need a marketing plan. We've just opened up $1 million broadcast center at this school, and we need to have a marketing plan where students come in and design and develop the marketing strategies. We have a network, a technology network throughout the Calgary board and into the province, and we're going to be applying for a broadcast channel, and we're going to be marketing and moving, and supply chain speaks to all of these pieces. So I'm going to go faster. We want to connect students to their future, and their future is everywhere. And so what is it that we need to do and understand about your business, about your passions, your expertise and leadership, and where can we connect the dots with each one of these students so that they can learn in a timely, meaningful way? We'll keep going. So just pause here. Thanks, Sanamar. So you can see that while the focus of the program of studies is on purchasing, warehouse distribution, traffic and transportation, and inventory management, we're connecting this to the other sectors and to the other communities across the learning continuum, but also across the community and the business continuum in Calgary. There's so much opportunity here, and I think I heard Stacy and of course Peter both talk about the need. There's a need, a mutual benefit here for industry to look and to garner and grow some of this talent. So as we look at the human resource strategy that has been mapped out, and there are many different diagrams to choose from, what we speak to here is the need. This is a provincial, a national, a global need, but we have an opportunity working with public education to foster and to frame out this future in some very significant and purposeful, intentional ways. We're interested in engaging students in learning, and I think that that is a common agenda for us all. So I think you've seen this map. It comes from work that was done over many years, and it is about connecting the dots and building out that future vision and helping students understand supply chain. Murray Poick is here. Murray, can you wave? Where are you? Over there. We brought Murray on this year working with supply chain sector and working with the Supply Chain Council, this community, the Logistics Council and in Calgary. We have garnered support to bring a teacher on board. We are setting up, we've put aside not only a program space, but we've brought a champion teacher to the table to help us design and develop this program. We have a number of other teachers here tonight, and I know that they'll be taking opportunities back to their schools. We've been working with principals very directly. Principals are anxious to know how they can support and help and guide this work. Our off-campus, do you want to wave, Ryan? Ryan Eamon is here. Ryan is responsible for off-campus or off-site learning for the Calgary Board. He works with work experience coordinators across all of our 27 high schools. And we have many students and teachers and opportunities. We're on the cusp here. We want to help you understand what we're trying to do differently and the kind of commitment that we're prepared to make. So I'm going to go, I was going to talk a little bit about off-campus education. We know that, and particularly in supply chain, we need to start students off campus, not in the classroom. We need to start them with you. So on the exploratory level, for example, if we had students who said, well, we don't know very much about supply chain. I've been to a few supply chain meetings over the years. A lot of people tell me they get into supply chain by accident. You really didn't know this was going to be your career. You came across it or had the opportunity, and my God, who knew? We want to make it possible for students to know. And so we have an off-campus program, and whether it's Ryan or whether it's Sanamar or whether it's Murray, we've put people in place to contact so that you can say, I've got an experience I'm prepared to share, to whet the appetite of students in this program area. So we do provide, and we're very conscientious about workplace safety. We have students, we're not sending students out without the proper prerequisites. And the students, if you would be interested in helping us with this work, we would make sure that we're not putting you at risk. There are many, many ways to connect students to supply chain. We have a program as well that as students come back into our buildings, we're going to be developing and enhancing projects across all the sectors, all of the areas. We have a fabulous natural resources program, energy-focused program, all of these, our fabrication studies, pre-engineering programs. We were just competing in the robotics competition at the University of Calgary last weekend. We had 5 teams from the Calgary Board who designed robots and who now will go on to further competitions. What we know about any one of these areas of focus is they have supply chain components to them. So students who may be focusing in auto body mechanics may also be taking supply chain courses as well as finance courses because they're interested in setting up their own business and setting up their own production centers. So we have, this is my last slide, Linda, and so we have a need, and we believe working together, and that's why I'm so delighted to have this very brief opportunity to share a little bit about this change, this transformation of public education. So the commitment here tonight is to roll up our sleeves. There's a number of people who can be helpful or can provide information, but it's really about saying to you, the door's open. We're interested in a whole array of supports. We believe that having students engaged and focused on supply chain allows them to see the connections in post-secondary, whether it's at SAIT, Mount Royal, University of Calgary, Bow Valley College, whether it's going directly out into industry. But we have to do more, and we believe that we have the wheels under the bus, and now we all just need to get on board. So Linda, Peter, thank you very much, and I look forward to the conversation.